So hopefully you got your spaceship model imported and you got it set up and you're ready to go inside Painter. There's one important step that we have to do before we can start painting it. I want to show you that. It's called baking. We're going to get into it. I am going to share my screen. There it is there. We're going to what else Painter. And here's our spaceship. Looks like $1,000,000. I would like to, let's say I want to, by the way, if you tap your tab key on your keyboard, it'll turn all your menus off and on. You get a nice big workspace. Might be helpful. Let's say we said, oh, we're going to drag some, materials on here. I'm just in my standard materials, and I drop in my pink fabric, and it looks great. And then I go, okay, I want to play with things like ambient occlusion or curvature, or use something that's procedural texturing, which is to say, use something about the geometry of this model to edit it, to paint it, to make things happen. I can't do that yet because there are no baked mesh maps. What am I talking about? Here are the texture set, the 4 texture sets that we've got up here. So I'm on my spaceship texture set. And what if I look at my material menu here, there's M for material, and then I can look at individual channels. But then I've got these mesh maps down at the bottom, and it says, show me the ambient occlusion mesh map. Blank. If you tap your B key, it'll show you all your baked mesh maps. Curvature, blank. Position, thickness, nothing. I've got 0 information inside this before I can do anything. So in other words, I don't have mesh maps that I can use. That's what the baking process does. It analyzes your model and goes, oh, you got some creases that are like this. Oh, you got some edges that are like that. I'm going to use that information. Right now, I don't have that information. So come with me. We're going to speak French for a second here. There's a little croissant up in your menu bar right there at the top. And if you click that button right there, it says, okay, let's go ahead and do our baking. So here you've got, I'm on the spaceship. It'll do all 4 things, but we have to set it up. So I'm going to probably go back in here and say, I'm going to change my output size. In the common settings, notice down here, mesh map bakers. Here's my 4 texture sets. Here's my mesh map bakers. I've got a bunch of them turned on. I don't have, say, height or bent normals or opacity. I don't need those. I happen to know. You might experiment with trying different things. Again, I'm going to show you a small part of what this program can do. Experiment, explore, go nuts. 4K for my output. I want to use my low poly mesh as high poly mesh. You might find yourself going, I want to, I've got a high res version of this that I'm going to use to make a low poly version. We don't have that in this particular case. We only have the one model. So I'm just going to click that button right there. And then what I'm going to do is start rolling through my individual settings from mesh map settings right here. I don't have one for normals. World space normal, I don't have one for that. ID, I can use material color, which is what came with the model, or I can set up something random. I might leave it at material color, doesn't matter. Ambient occlusion, I am going to do a couple of things. I'm going to you can think about self-occlusion. It means basically if there are things that are moving inside your model, you want to turn off only the same mesh name, or turn on always the same mesh name. I'm going to leave it at always because this particular model doesn't have any moving parts to it. I'm probably going to bump up my secondary rays. That has to do with how many times it bounces the light around inside to make things look the way we want them. Similar thing with curvature. It's the same kind of thing. And then position, thickness, I'm going to leave most of these guys alone. And then once I'm all done with that, there's a little blue button down there that says Bake Selected Textures. Mais oui, c'est bon. So now what it's doing is going through this whole process of saying, okay, based on what you gave me, based on the information that you gave me about this model, I'm going to bake 4 texture sets, spaceship, weapons, engines, bridge, and I'm going to bake 7 each of those mesh maps. Normal, workplace normal, world space normal, sorry, ID, ambient occlusion, curvatures, position, thickness. Those are the 7 that we're going to do. So in other words, it's got to make 28 mesh maps from this thing. So I'm not going to keep going. The next video will start with a baked mesh map, and you'll see what then we can do with painting. Hopefully you are having lots of fun with this thing and learning a ton and giggling. Maybe you're not giggling yet, but it's pretty great anyway. See you, friends.